Alright all, and welcome back to a new video and the Gold Cup Day preview of the Cheltenham Festival 2021, the Day 4 action, the Friday card, which I'll be covering 5 races on the card, some more in depth than others, let's just put it that way. We'll be covering the Triumph Hurdle, the Albert Bartlett Novices Hurdle, the Gold Cup itself, the Foxhunters Chase, and also the Mares Chase as well. So leaving out the 2 handicaps on the last day, which will all be covered in a handicap video, which will be coming to you next week, hopefully Tuesday, Wednesday next week. This is hopefully going up on Friday around lunchtime. And I hope you guys have been enjoying it. The previous couple of videos have gone down very well, some good views, plenty of you guys liking it. There's a couple of new subscribers as well. If you are new around here, I really hope you're enjoying these Cheltenham Festival videos, and be sure to get involved in the comments down below. Some great guys down there giving their thoughts, and great girls as well. There's been even a few women commenting down below, which is a bit of a new one, I must confess, this year, but a lovely bunch of people down there. So if you are new and you want to get involved, do make sure to comment your thoughts. As I say, things have been going well. Preview circuit's starting tonight with the finishing line preview with myself, the lads at the finishing line, the lads at Next Gen Racing, and Gavin Lynch himself, big old Gavin Lynch. So if you are around tonight and you've nothing else to do, it's 7:30. It's a live stream on the finishing line page. So be sure to get involved, because you can obviously ask comments live, and I'm sure you'll want to pick the brains of somebody like Gavin, much more than you'll want to pick the brains of myself. But he's a great coup for the lads to get, and I'm really excited, and hopefully it'll be a good night between all of us to hopefully back a couple of winners. I'm in the Horse Racing Buddy Club jacket. Again, just another plug for them. Kieran's doing sterling work. He's doing his own videos on Horse Racing Buddy's channel. He's doing a video a day. He's looking into these races a little bit more in depth than myself, and I think they're absolutely superb, to be honest. He's got a lot of knowledge about the game. He's obviously been in the game, studying form for a couple more years than myself, and the club's doing great as well. We've got 3 horses in at the moment, and there's just snippets, and I haven't heard anything official, but snippets that we may have a 4th horse on the way. So hopefully, if you are intrigued by that, make sure to get involved. Contact myself, contact Kieran. His details are in the description below, and we'll try and sort you out with a membership to get involved with owning 4 horse race, or 3 or 4 horses, and also a very, very lively group chat, I'm just going to put it that way, on a daily basis. But moving on into Day 4's action, and starting off with the Triumph Hurdle. I have had an Ante-Post bet in this race, as the people that have been watching the videos throughout the year will know, and it was Nassalam, and it was in, I think, November time it was, and I put him up at 25 to 1 for this race, and he's currently 25 to 1 for this race, and to be honest, he's up against it. It was after his first run at Fontwell. He won obviously by 50 lengths. There was a little bit of the whole Goshen thing about it. He was so impressive. Obviously Goshen had won at Fontwell last year. I was taking a little bit of a punt, especially at 25s. I think it was worth the punt at that. He then went on to win at Fontwell again by 50 lengths, but has been beaten now twice since. He was second to Adagio at Chepstow. I was prepared to kind of look over that performance, really. I thought he was just very green, didn't look like he knew what to do when he got into a battle that day. But the last day, last weekend, when he was second to Montmoral at Haydock. Now, that being said, Montmoral looks a really, really smart horse. It was a little bit of a bubble burst, I must confess. And I just don't know whether they'll run him in the race or not. He's off a mark of 141, so he's high for the Boodles. I suppose they may run in it. I think they'll run in the Triumph Hurdle. I'd love them to run in the Triumph, just so at least I get a run for the money. With all these Ante-Post bets, you're looking for them to at least turn up, so you could have a spin round, and you never know what might happen. But he does look up against it on the balance of form, and 25 to 1 probably reflects his chances. Looking at the market at the moment, you've Zanahiyr in here at 5 to 2, best price, and I still think that's a very good price about Zanahiyr, I must say. He's a horse I like an awful lot. I wasn't prepared to be backing him at 5 to 2 back in, January time, but the closer you get to the race and the more his odds haven't changed, the more you can make a point that it's still a good price. He's 3 from 3 over hurdles. He won a Ballon Robe maiden hurdle back in October, beating Dark Voyager. He was a bit green that day over his hurdles. He probably wasn't as foot perfect as he has been in his 2 starts after that even. Dark Voyager has ended up being a little bit of a bust. I think he's been very disappointing actually for Willie Mullins. I think they thought of him quite highly at that time. He's been beaten twice since, very, very convincingly. Zanahiyr, on the other hand, he went to Fairyhouse at the Hatton's Grace meeting and ended up trouncing St. Sam off the back of a strong pace. And Druid's Altar set a fine pace that day. And you'll know from the handicap video I did with Josh, and probably the handicap video I'll do next week, I'm quite sweet on Druid's Altar for the Boodles juvenile handicap for Joseph O'Brien. I think he's a nice horse. St. Sam's also a nice horse that might well run in that Boodles as well, and he also has form tied in with an awful lot of the good juveniles this year for Willie Mullins. He absolutely trounced him that day. Then he went to Christmas, and it was a really slowly run race, a falsely run race that Busselton set it. He ended up coming second, Busselton, which was he kind of shouldn't have finished second, really, based off that. I think he was a bit flattered by that. Hador and St. Sam again were in behind. But I thought Zanahiyr was very impressive there to quicken off that very slow pace. That wouldn't have suited him whatsoever. He still ended up winning by 3 lengths at the line, pretty impressively. Looked momentarily in a little bit of trouble turning in, but he quickly put the race to bed, and I think he's got triumph written all over him. Gordon Elliott has a fair handle on this juvenile form, I must say, between himself, Quilixios and Dufflecoat, and he also has a couple of horses that would have good chances in the juvenile handicap, including Tiupo, Glorious Zaf, and the likes of them. So he's fairly stacked in this division, and I think Zanahiyr is his number 1 choice. 5-2, I think, is a good price, and Zanahiyr, actually, I'm going to end up putting up for the Triumph Hurdle in this video. I think 5-2 is too big. I really like him a lot. I know a few other people think he's still a good price. I know, it's 5-2 for the juvenile race. It's maybe a little bit skimpy in the grand scheme of things, but I think he's got a massive chance in this. He's done nothing but impress me this year, and up until now, it's probably just been price in comparison to how far out we were that was putting me off backing him. As for now, it's 5-2. We're 3 weeks away. He's going to run in the race. I think it's a good price and a good bet. I'll just quickly run through some of his main challengers, starting off with Quilixios of Gordon Elliott in the Cheveley Park Silks. I'm not quite as convinced as this Quilixios. I think he needs a bit of a trip. I think he needs 2.5-3 miles in time. He was grand at the Dublin Racing Festival. He won impressively by 5 lengths, beating St. Sam. Humdor didn't race a gallop whatsoever that day, so the form is up to a little bit of question, and I just wasn't overly enamoured by the fact that St. Sam was coming back at him at the line, considering St. Sam made a bad mistake at the last as well. I thought he was tying up. I don't think there's quite as much under the bonnet as people want to think. I think he's just, maybe, I wouldn't say he's slow. He's obviously got plenty of gears, but I think he's more of a long-term project, and wouldn't surprise me at all if he's going to be more of a 2.5-3 mile chaser in time. While Zanahiyr looks more like he could be a champion hurdle type horse. I'm not saying he will be, but he looks more that type of horse, and I just think Zanahiyr might have too many gears for him in a Triumph Hurdle. French Seal's next in the betting. French Seal I can't get behind whatsoever. I think it's a whole heap of hype, to be honest. Wouldn't surprise me if he was a bust in the Triumph Hurdle. Now, if he goes out and wins, I'll tip my hat to Willie Mullins and the Donnellys. Obviously a shrewd purchase. They bought him for a lot of money after he dotted in a maiden hurdle for Elmarie Holden. I know Coulter has ended up winning a maiden hurdle since, and he finished second that day for Dermot Well, but the rest of the form is yak's worth of form, really. I thought it was a very flattered performance. He was obviously very good, but Elmarie Holden is a selling yard. She'll have had him well prepped for that day, and I'm just not so sure the improvement is there. I'm sure he's a very smart horse. I'm sure there's a level of form there that's going to be very good, but I don't know, Willie Mullins will have to eke out more improvement if he's really going to lay a glove on these two at the top of the market. I believe, anyway. I think he's plenty short enough for what he's achieved, just being one maiden hurdle win. Adagio probably brings the most robust English form to the table. He beat Nassalam, as I said, in the Grade 1 Juvenile at Chepstow. He was very good that day, and he's been progressive this year. He won at Cheltenham at the December meeting, was second to Dufflecoat at the November meeting, but I think he's a better horse now than he was probably there, and it wouldn't surprise me at all if him and Dufflecoat were to reoppose against each other sometime down the line, that Adagio might be able to certainly get closer. I'm not sure maybe completely reverse the form, but certainly get a bit closer. I think he's more streetwise these days. I was quite keen on him as an each-way price up until Nassalam got beaten by Monreal, and you just don't know about that form now. I think Adagio's a solid horse. He's the type of horse that will run a good race. Whether I want to back him or not, I'm not so sure. Tritonic is next in the betting. We'll know an awful lot more about him after tomorrow when he runs in the Adonis Juvenile Hurdle. Up until then, I'd be very sceptical. I thought he was grand at Ascot on his juvenile debut. He jumped grand. He took a fair bit of time to pick up that Gary Moore horse in front. I know they were well clear, but he'd have to improve an awful lot on that, I think, in the Adonis to have a chance in this race. It wouldn't be for me. I know he's a high-class flat horse, but I think there's better options in this. Real shame to not see Monreal in the race. I know he's going straight to Aintree. I think he's an absolute beast of a juvenile, Monreal. I think he's a very smart horse, but for me, it is Zanahiyr at 5-2. I think he takes an awful lot of beating. I know he's the favourite in this race, but he does take an awful lot of beating, and I think he has a massive chance as a result. Moving on to the Albert Bartlett Novices Hurdle over 3 miles, and this is a very open race, and to be honest it looks a little bit like Albert Bartlett's of years gone by rather than last year. Last year's was a bit of an anomaly of a race. You had 4 very smart horses contesting the finish at the back of the last. Obviously Monkfish, who's turned out to be a superstar over fences, latest exhibition, who's not far short, to be fair. Fury Road and Time Hill both up near the top of the staying hurdle ranks as well. It doesn't look like that this year. I think it's very winnable, this race. It doesn't look like there's much depth whatsoever. Stattler's the current favourite at 7-1, and I think he's a good price at 7-1. Obviously, I'm going to say that. I put him up back in December time for this race at 20-1 after he won the maiden hurdle at Leopardstown, beating Glens of Antrim. I made a compelling case. I hoped I made a compelling case for Glens of Antrim in the Mayor's Novices Hurdle on the Thursday preview of this race at 33-1. I know she's already been knocked into 20, so some of the people watching this must have sharked in before I did anyway on her. But I think Stattler's form is decent enough. I thought he was good in the Nathaniel Lacey race when finishing 3rd. I think that performance can be upgraded. I know Gentleman's Game ended up getting him on the line, and I know there's a few people that were a little bit disappointed the Gentleman's Game isn't going to run in this race, and I understand their disappointments. That being said, I genuinely believe over 3 miles Stattler would reverse that form from Leopardstown this year anyway. Maybe not over fences in time, because Gentleman's Game may be a lovely horse over a fence in years to come, but Stattler paid the price for actually trying to beat Gaillard de Menil, while the rest of the horses, the likes of Gentleman's Game and especially Fakira, were kind of swooping on breadcrumbs in that race, really, and Stattler had actually done it the hard way. I think he's a lovely horse that if you ride him in 4th or 5th in the Bartlett, he may have a bit more speed than some of these horses, especially tactical speed, and it would surprise me if he wasn't to be banged there. As I say, I'm going to be sweet on him because I have him at 20-1. But that being said, you want to, if you obviously haven't watched the videos in kind of time gone by, you want to know what I think of the price currently, and I genuinely think 7-1 is a good price. It's a working man's price at 7-1. I know he is favourite, but I think he's got rock solid each way credentials at 7s. I can't see him out of the first 3 or 4, to be honest, and I think he takes a fair bit of beating unless something bizarre happens. And the Albert Bartlett, if something bizarre is going to happen in a race at Cheltenham, it will happen in the Albert Bartlett. But I think Stattler has a very good chance. Looking at the other challengers for the race, Fakir is obviously the main one. He's in there, second favourite at 8-1. I can't have Fakir at all. I think he's turned into the mother of all wise guys horses. I know I've said that on a couple of channels now, but I think it's true. I think he's just slow. He doesn't have tactical speed. Wouldn't surprise me at all if he was to be outpaced and run on at the death come 3rd or 4th in this race, but it wouldn't be for me. I think he's plenty short for what he's achieved as a horse. He's a bit of an early horse, only 2 from 7 over hurdles. Those 2 races he won a grade 2, beating Fire Attack. That form doesn't look overly strong now. And he won a maiden hurdle, beating Gabanaco and Nose. Gabanaco is going to be running in a handicap at the Cheltenham Festival. So I'm just not sure about Fakira, to be honest. I just don't think he's quite good enough. I don't think he's got the class. And I know the Bartlett, again, it's not a race that necessarily you need to have bundles of class, but Geez, he really is slow, and I do believe it would have to be a year like Martello Tower won the race in an absolute bog. He kind of reminds me of a Martello Tower type operator. He's slow, he's steady, and if it was a real bog, he'd have a chance. But I think on a bit of nicer ground, I think he'd be well found out in this and would only be playing for place money. You've got Tory Graf in there next in the market. I'd be more keen on him as the Gordon Elliott horse in this race, Tory Graf. He's a nice upwardly progressive horse. He's 2 from 2 over 2 miles 7 now, including winning a nice novice at Thurles last time. Monkfish won that race last year before going on to win the Bartlett. The form of that race is grand. It's up to a bit of question though. I know people are going around saying it's great form. It's not great form. He beat Angels Dawn of Sam Curlings, who did finish second in a Grade 3 at Navan last weekend, but the favourite fell at 2 out in that race, and to be honest, the horse Frontal Assault that won the race for Gordon Elliott is a slow horse, so I'm not sure about that. And Fighter Allen was back in third, and yet again he failed to see his race out in the Michael Purcell at Thurles this week, so I'm not sure. The form is grand, but maybe not quite as good as some people want to make it out. He's 10 to 1 now. I think that's a fair price. I think it's more than likely Jack Kennedy will be riding him for Gigginstown. He's got the right type of profile for the race. As I say, he's upwardly progressive. He loves staying. I know he's got a decent enough mark for a handicap, but I don't know what handicap you'd run him in because he's not quick enough for the Martin Pipe. I think, again, he's a slower type of horse, but maybe a little bit more class in the bag than Fakira, I believe, and comes in here after a few nice tidy wins and does maybe hold a fair bit of form claims as a result. Got a few English horses in there, starting off with Barbados Books for Paul Nicholls. Not a horse I particularly like. Look, he was beaten 8 lengths at Stratford back in October time. Very few horses, I suspect, have gone on to be beaten 8 lengths at Stratford and go on to win at the Cheltenham Festival. He's won 2 races at Southwell. It was quite good at Kempton last time, to be fair to him, but he's 11 to 1. I think I'd want to be seeing 16 to 1 before really getting in, have a think about Barbados Books. Again, I'm just not sure what the form is worth, and it would surprise me actually if he was bang there, to be honest. He's not a horse that's really done it for me. He'd need to improve on his known form. Ala Philippe for Fergal O'Brien. He run the Grade 2, I believe it was, 3 mile novices hurdle, or was it a Grade 3 at Haydock last Saturday. He won that very impressively, but the form again is a little bit open to question just because the second favourite fell, our unseeded rider, at 3 out, which obviously kind of ended up enhancing the winning distance. He'd have won anyway, I believe anyway, but it might have been 2 or 3 lengths rather than I think the 12 lengths he ended up winning the race by. He's a nice upwardly progressive horse. They've every right to go for this race, I believe, Fergal O'Brien and Paddy Brennan, and I think he'll be given a waiting ride and hopefully pick up on breadcrumbs in this race, and he wouldn't be without a chance actually. He'd be one of the English horses I'd be a bit sweeter on. Just one last one I'm going to mention, just going to throw it into the mix, especially if you're a non-runner no bet punter. I might wait until the day actually before, or the final selections video, before I think of backing him myself, but a John McConnell horse called Streets of Doyen. As I say, this might be a year where it goes to not maybe one of the more flashy horses, and this horse brings very upwardly progressive form from back kind of in the summer months. He beat Flooring Porter by 5 lengths back in September, which that form looked rock solid at this stage, especially for a novice. He then went over to the Cheltenham October meeting and beat Manila Encore and Polish of Fergal O'Brien's. Polish won a Grade 2 handicap at Newbury last week, so the form looks grand from there, and he hasn't run since. He wants a bit of better ground, but if there was a bit of better ground on the day, you can still get 25 to 1 non-runner no bet. It mightn't be the worst price. John McConnell's had a few good raids over to Cheltenham in the last year or two. He's a shrewd man. He's obviously one of our horse racing buddy club trainers as well, so hopefully he might run well if they decide to take him over. The Gold Cup, the one you've probably clicked on the video for, and it sees the favourite, the reigning champ, my legend himself, Boum Photo. He mightn't be a people's horse, but he's a people's horse to me. He's an absolute legend. He's won the Gold Cup for me at 33 to 1 2 years ago, at 6 to 1 last year, and I put him up back in December time at 9 to 2 for the race. He's now 3 to 1, so it's not exactly like I've gotten a massive price on him, but I've got a little bit better. I've got a 1.5 more than he currently is. I still think he's a good price at 3 to 1. I think he's rock solid in this race. He just wins races, and you can throw stones. You can throw as many stones as you feel like at Boum Photo. You can say Boum this, Boum that. He's only been beaten once as an open chaser, and he's won 2 Gold Cups in a row. And I know people love hypothesising about the likes of Monkfish, Envoy, they could be superstars in the future. They could be future Gold Cup winners. But come back to me when Monkfish has won 2 Gold Cups in a row, or Envoy won 2 Gold Cups in a row. It's not as easy as it looks. You look at the likes of Don Cossack, Coney Gree, Sizing Jam, horses that have won Gold Cups and not been able to come back and produce ever again. In some cases, not even running ever again. This horse is coming to the well time after time, and he's coming in with a chance to emulate Best Mate and Arkle, and I think he's got a great chance of doing so. Champ is second favourite in the book. He ran a great race, I thought, in the Game Spirit. A much better race than I thought he might run. He's now 13-2, I think. I think overall that's probably a fair price for Champ, to be honest. I don't think he should be shorter. I don't think he should be bigger. I don't know. It was, as I say, it was a very good performance, and I'm not willing to knock that performance at all because he did jump an awful lot better. But just the spoofers out there, and I do believe they are spoofers, that are telling me that this is an ideal prep for the Gold Cup. Getting beaten in a 2-mile race as your only run of the season being an ideal prep. Like, I know Nicky Henderson has notions, he does send horses to weird races, but he can't even believe it's been an ideal prep. Yes, the horse may be good enough. Yes, the horse may have the engine. Yes, the horse may win. I'm not discounting all of that. But don't lie to me telling me it's an ideal prep when it isn't. It's really not. Like, you can't tell me being beaten in a 2-mile race by So Royale is, every horse's dream of then going on to the Gold Cup. He does have a chance. He would be, I believe he's the main threat to Boum Photo, just because if he gets it right, you do know the engine's there. The RSA showed that last year when he jumped terribly and still won the race. I still think that form is probably decent enough. Just wouldn't surprise me if he was to run a huge race. He is the one that is concerning me in the market. That being said, don't buy this ideal prep whatsoever. I think they were looking to run him, back in November time. And they've ended up just about being able to sneak a run in February at that, 3 or 4 weeks before the festival. Had a chance, but wouldn't be for me. You couldn't trust Champ as much as he is a danger. If you're on him, I couldn't put you off him, but I've just never taken to him, and I do believe he does have, he has idiosyncrasies in him, and he's got jumping blemishes in him. But if he got it right, he'd have to have a major chance in this. A Plus Tard's next in the betting, and I know A Plus Tard is a horse liked by many, and I don't want to upset the apple cart too much. I don't want to say something that I'm going to end up regretting as well. A Plus Tard's just a horse I don't like, and I'm sure there'll be horses out there. Everyone watching this video will have horses they don't like. There's just no getting away from it. Some people don't like Altior, some people don't like some Willie Mullins horses. See, the thing with the likes of a Honeysuckle, I've never not liked Honeysuckle. It's just been, I've tried to take her on. Same with Apples J, tried to take her on. A Plus Tard, I really don't like. And I just think he's overrated for what he's actually achieved in his career. He's a lovely horse. He's a beautiful horse. He's a Grade 1 horse. I understand all of them. Again, I don't want to say things that are just not true, because he is a lovely horse. But I'm just looking at the basis of his form and going, we were here 12 months ago and every man and dog was telling me, A Plus Tard this, A Plus Tard that. He's going to beat me and he'll hack up. He won the novice handicap. All this good old stuff. He beats Chacun Pour Soi Christmas time. Oh, he's the only horse to beat Chacun Pour Soi. Chacun Pour Soi was 60% fit. If there was a genuine Grade 1 horse running in the Hilly Way this year at Cork, they'd have beaten Chacun Pour Soi. First time out, he's not very good. Like, he wasn't impressive down in Cork. He was much more impressive the last twice at Leopardstown. But if there was a genuine Grade 1 2-miler down in Cork this year, they'd have beaten Ante-Post. So I think that's a bit of a bust. He just completely blew up in the straight that day. A Plus Tard picked up the pieces. Then he goes to Cheltenham. Everyone thinks he's a certainty to win the Ryanair. Travelled behind the bridle. Was, Rachel's nicking him down the shoulder at the top of the hill. And turns in a length behind Min. Every chance to go by him. Min is not accelerating up that hill. You only have to look at the race, and not only does he not go by Min, St. Calvados comes running by him. I don't know about that. I just thought it was a very, very flat run. Then everyone's now going to go on. He's won the Savills Chase. Well done, he's won the Savills Chase. He was excellent that day. Darrow keeps giving him an absolute perler. Kemboy has ran a good race and he is a Leopardstown specialist, so that form looks okay. Mellon's back in third, doesn't stay 3 miles and probably went for home too soon. You can argue as well Kemboy and Mellon cut each other's throats off out in front. Allaho was back in fourth, doesn't stay 3 miles. We've been through this debate before. So you can, as much as it was impressive, you can pick a couple of holes in it. But what's annoying me, and again, I understand A Plus Tard is not dissimilar to Ante-Post in terms of he can come on for his reappearance. He does come on a bit for his reappearance. But it's as if people have forgotten with A Plus Tard that he got beaten by Castlegrace Paddy back in November time. And I love Castlegrace Paddy. He's an admirable servant. But if he was to win a race around Cheltenham, he'd have to start right now. To win a race around Cheltenham. He's just nowhere near that type of level. He's a grade 2, grade 3 animal. I thought A Plus Tard was very sluggish that day. His jumping leaves a bit to be desired. And then in the Savills Chase, he ends up finding himself quite a bit way back. Does very well to get there in the end. Hold my hands up. It was a very good performance. I didn't really fancy him for the Savills. And he won. He proved me wrong. Maybe he'll prove me wrong again. But I'm not going to be fooled this year like I wasn't fooled last year. I just think he's an awful lot to find. Still, on the likes of Boum Photo, I think he's got a lot to find on Champ. I think he's got a lot to... I just think he's not a proven star. His jumping can be indifferent at times. And he seems to get outpaced an awful lot in his races, no matter over what trip. It just doesn't scream to me like a very good situation. Maybe it is. I know there's much shrewder men than me that think he's got a massive chance in the Gold Cup. And if he goes and wins the race, I'll be the first person to congratulate Henry de Bromhead. As you know from putting up cliff horses like Captain Guinness, I've a heap of time for Henry de Bromhead and Rachel Blackmore. But A Plus Tard is just not one of them that I've managed to come round to just yet. Just looking at a couple of others, I'm going to just mention them briefly because I know I don't want to ramble on for years. Royal Pagaille, I think he will run in this race. He's a lovely horse. That being said, I think the win at Haydock's been kind of blown out of proportion. If any of these horses weren't to win off his mark of 150 or whatever it was in that Peter Marsh, you'd be really, really looking at them with, going, Christ almighty, it was a dreadful Peter Marsh. The second Fav fell down the back. He ended up beating Potter's Legacy, was it? Potter's Hedger, one of the Potter's horses for Lucy Wadham, back into second, who's an old stager at this stage. I don't think there was much substance to that form. Wouldn't surprise me if he ran a nice race, came 4th or 5th. I don't think he's quite up to it. Frodon, I just can't see it personally. He's not going to get a freebie out in front. He sulks when he gets taken on, and he's got his perennial rival in this Native River. And Native River's run against Frodon twice and has upset him twice, and it's going to happen again. And Frodon throws the toys out of the pram when he doesn't get a freebie. If he was on an off chance to get a freebie, I wouldn't put it past him running a decent race, but he won't get one, so there's no point in me saying that. Santini, I do think he could run much better. I think you'll see a seasonal best from Santini in the Gold Cup, but it would take a much braver man than myself to be backing him for the race. He's slow, he's a bit cumbersome, doesn't jump very well. Again, not much going for him. Manila Indo, a horse I'd be willing almost to give a chance to, but I'd be willing to see the ground conditions. These two horses I'm mentioning probably will end up being my each-way bet, and it'll be probably ground-dependent which one I go for. I know Manila Indo has jumped, he's fell in the Savills Chase, and he's jumped very adequately in the Irish Gold Cup race. I think they gave him an easy time of things in the Irish Gold Cup. It was simply just a case of we need to get him round in one piece. And I completely understand that. He is a nice horse, though. If you went back to his RSA form from last year, I think he'd have a chance at 16s, though it would be quite brave. And the one that I'm going to throw into the mix, and you're all going to give out about it, I can understand it now, because I've thrown the likes of an A Plutar into the ditch, and then I'm going to mention this guy. But if it comes up soft ground, I think Native River at 16-1. You'll find worse 16-1 horses all week than Native River on really soft ground. I think he's got a chance at galloping an awful lot of these into the ground. He's a lovely jumper. The race at Sandown just goes to show there's still a lot of heart there. There's still a lot of ability there. And I think I think he does have a chance of running a huge race into the frame. On better ground, he is vulnerable. Horses will be too quick for him. I understand that. But if there was a bit of juice in the ground, like there sometimes can be come the Friday, it wouldn't surprise me to see this horse run well. The Hunters Chase we'll move on to next, and the Hunters Chase, not a race I'm going to cover for too long. I actually wrote the preview, the blog bit for this video before it came to pass, ran yesterday at Thurles, and he ended up he unseated actually at 3 out when being pretty much tailed off. That being said, since then it came to pass has gone from 9-1 out to 14-1, and I think non-runner no bet at 14-1. I think it came to pass as a cracking price in this race. I wouldn't care two hoots about his run yesterday. Maxine barely breathed on him, even though he was going nowhere in the race. Didn't give him a hard time whatsoever. People forget he was pulled up in a point-to-point in late January on heavy ground last year before winning this race at 66-1. I think if it's any type of nice ground, I think he's got a massive chance. I'm just throwing in the non-runner no bet stipulation just on the off chance that he's not right after that performance yesterday, but it wouldn't have concerned me at all, to be honest. I was surprised. I think they were just running him simply to get a run into him. I don't think they had any expectations. The drift on the day would tell you that. And Eugene O'Sullivan's horses do usually benefit for a bit of better ground. So hopefully, as much as I'm hoping for rain for the likes of a Native River, I'm hoping for a bit of better ground for it came to pass. I think Billaway is a favourite I'm willing to take on. They seem to have tried to get an awful lot of runs into him to improve his jumping, improve his professionalism, and he just doesn't want to know. He's a terrible jumper. He's got the class to win the race if he put in a good round, but he's 10-3. I think it's plenty short for a horse that doesn't jump very well and was well beaten last year by It Came to Pass. Bob and Co's in there at 6-1. Bit of a loony. He's a good horse. He's got plenty of ability, but he's looks a pretty tricky conveyance, and probably the help of being a professional jockey on him won't be of any harm. I'm sure the likes of a Sean Bowen will end up riding him like he did last week or 2 weeks ago whenever he won at Haydock. But that being said, he does look difficult. He hangs a bit. He jumps flamboyantly. He's very keen early. Would surprise me if 3 Mile 2 around Cheltenham would see him to best effect. Staker Wallace, the only one else to really mention at the top of the market. He might have an each way chance. That being said, I've always thought 3 Mile 2 may just stretch him a little bit. Moving on to the final race of these previews, and it is the Mares' Chase. And one of my better Ante-Post bets comes in the form of Elimay, put up at 10-1 back in January time before she ran in the Kinloch Bray behind Allaho. She's currently 9-4 favourite for the race. I think that's still a good price. I think this race is going to cut up an awful lot. There's no chance to put the kettle on runs in this, I don't believe. Calreevy, I think, will run, though. I think they'll end up being swayed into running. Willie never has any issues running 2 or 3 horses, especially if they're different owners in the same races at Cheltenham. I think Elimay does have the form over Calreevy, and the reason I say that just is Calreevy, I'm a little bit dubious of going left-handed. She's 0 from 3 going left-handed and 0 from 2 at Cheltenham, including finishing 7th in the bumper and 5th in the Mares' Novice last year, both beaten quite a bit. She was also 3rd when odds on in a Mares' bumper at Leopardstown in her only other start going left-handed. She's always ran right-handed apart from that, and it would just bear a little bit in my mind that might be the case. Also at Thurles last time, I wasn't quite so sure as everyone else was that Scarlet and Dove didn't have a bit of running to give at 2 out when she came down. I thought she'd have given Calreevy a bit of a race that day. I think Elimay comes in here with good form in the book. Second to Allaho was a very big run. Then she came and won the Opera Hat over 2 miles at Naas. 2 miles was never going to suit her that day, and she put away some nice enough types in the process in Shattered Love and Yukon Lil, strong at the line. She's a small enough type of mare, but she's a really solid jumper, seems to love fencing, only been beaten once over fences, and as I say, that was by Allaho, current favourite for the Ryanair. I think there's an awful lot to like about her, and I think 9-4 is still a generous enough price. That being said, I'm going to add in another bet into this race. I suppose it might be a little bit of a cover bet. I just think that Nace race could end up standing the test of time, and at the moment you're still just about able to procure 11-1 about Shattered Love, non-runner no bet. I think that's a very good each way bet in this. As I say, I've got Elimay at 10s. I still think 9-4 is not actually that bad a price, but if you want one at a bigger price, I think Shattered Love's the one to be coming down on. She's won the JLT at Cheltenham 3 years ago. The last 2 years she's ran in the Gold Cup and the Ryanair, so this is a significant drop in class. I thought she ran a good race in the race behind Elimay at Nace. Again, 2 miles wouldn't have suited her. A bit of drop of rain wouldn't be any problem to this mare. In fact, she'd love a bit of rain to get her toe in. I think 11-1's just too big. As I say, Colreevy may run. She is a danger, I understand that. Annie Mac has always looked a little bit short of the grade, just at top level, even though she's a lovely mare. And then you're back down to 20-1 shots, including Elfile, who hasn't even run this year and hasn't once ran over fences. So I don't know how you could be backing a mare like her, even though she is a mare I like an awful lot, Elfile. When she does come out, she is a horse that I will be very interested in. That being said, Elimay and Shattered Love, I don't think you'll be going too far wrong in the mare's chase as a result. That's the end of the Day 4 preview and the previews of the main races of the Cheltenham Festival for 2021. If you are new around here and you don't know how the system will go, I'll end up doing a handicap video, as I say, sometime next week. And then very close to the time, around when the declarations are available. So for the Tuesday card, it'll probably be the Saturday before, Wednesday, Sunday, that sort of gist. I will be putting up final selection videos, which will be just my confirmed bets for all of them. I know there are Ante-Post bets. There's a couple that have gone down the drain. The likes of San Juan Delta work. There are hopefully a few live ones in there. Elimay, Stattler come to mind as decent enough bets. Of course, Boum hopefully can do the job as well. I would love to hear your opinions on the races of Day 4 down below, especially the Gold Cup. What are your thoughts? I think Boum Photo is just rock solid at the top of the market. I want the Boum to go and do it again. A Plus Tard is a horse that is going to cause an awful lot of controversy, what I've said about him. I completely understand that. 100% be willing to be proven wrong on him, but I'm just not convinced. Champ, I'd be interested to know your opinions down below as well. So do let me know what you think of those Day 4 races. And of course, until next time, which will be the handicap video, or maybe I might see you on the finishing line live stream tonight. I hope you stay safe, stay well, land a few bets in the interim, and I'll see you guys then. Cheers.